Hello?
Hello, is this Bobby Z?
Dustin?
This is Dustin. How are you doing?
Good. How's it going?
It is going excellent. I'm here with my co-host, Ton.
Hey there, how you doing?
I'm sorry, what was your name?
Ton, like 2,000 pounds.
Tons.
Yep,
That's a good
Ton.
name. Great.
Yeah.
Well, let's do it.
Yeah, man, if you're ready to go, we can get started.
Ready to go.
Here. Well, I guess what we'd like to start with is, can you talk to us about how you started first playing music? What got you into it?
Well, I started at 6 years old, and I was imitating my brother David's older band, my brother David Z, who was kind of the godfather of Minneapolis at that point. He was experimenting with tape machines and had discovered folk music, Peter, Paul, and Mary, Dylan, Kingston Trio. These things were before the Beatles, and he was kind of dabbling in music. So we were ready when the Beatles hit, and that changed everything. And from there on, just tried to be in a band. 6, 7, 8 years old, I was in a band with my brother Steve called the Jaguars, kind of again imitating my brother's band, the Chancellors. But we were a novelty then. There wasn't really much going on back then. So that's how it all started.
Well, and obviously, as things went on, you wound up meeting up with Prince. Can you kind of tell us how that story happened?
Well, he too had been playing, in school and with bands, neighborhoods, as anybody who could play. But they turned out some pretty good bands over on North Minneapolis with Champagne, with Andre Simone, Morris Day, and Prince. And then Flight Time with Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis, Alexander O'Neill. I mean, there was a lot going on in Minneapolis. And I was kind of a session drummer at a studio, and that's where Prince started. And our paths crossed there. And from there, I became fascinated with his music, and we became kind of friends. And then I worked for him for a long time.
Yeah.
As his drummer, yeah.
So back in those early days, the Minneapolis sound obviously had a huge success on not only the music world, but just Minneapolis, obviously. What were your thoughts on how that turned out? Were you surprised that it blew up as big as it did?
Well, I think the Minneapolis sound gets confused. I mean, without Prince, there's really no Minneapolis sound. He was dabbling in the synthesizers, the Oberheims, all that stuff that made the synthetic horns that kind of is the key to the Minneapolis sound famous. And then, of course, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis took on, that sound with Janet. And so it all started with Prince. I think the amazing thing about Minneapolis, when you look back, is what was happening simultaneously at First Avenue, which was in the main room was us and Purple Rain, and then in the entry was this massive alternative rock explosion headed by the Replacements that became internationally renowned. So in one building here, you had two major forces in music kind of forged, and it's pretty amazing that it all came out of Minneapolis like that.
Yeah, there was a lot that happened, obviously. Now, you mentioned briefly there making Purple Rain and stuff. Do you have any memories that stand out of being a part of that whole thing?
Well, being a part of a major motion picture that went on, I mean, you can't help but relive that excitement that it was. The shooting schedule, 4 o'clock in the morning, 20 below zero, but you loved every second of it. And the fact that it went on and became what it did and still lives and breathes today is pretty mind-blowing. It's one thing, I mean, obviously, Prince wrote a lot of great music that went on to become famous, but the movie makes us all a little immortal, and it's kind of an honor, and it's kind of amazing at the same time. It's really special, and I think it's separated. I'm a drummer, but I think the difference between me and the Revolution is definitely, and Wendy and Fink and Lisa and Mark is the movie. I think it just, and Prince for that matter, of course. It just makes it different. It's a big rock and roll movie, and it's a lot of fun to be involved with.
Yeah, it's very awesome. One of my personal faves for sure.
No, that's good.
So then eventually Prince started wanting to incorporate more electronic drums and stuff. What happened there? I mean, was that difficult for you to try to transition, or how did that all go down?
Well, he definitely saw the future once the LM1, the first drum machine, came about, he had the prototype, and he saw it as playable. And that he, as an innovator like he is in so many different ways, he pushed that whole innovation of hooking pads up to the drum machine and playing it. So, keeping up with what was going on in his head took a minute, but then once we got it all figured out, I was kind of like the muse to this electronic percussion, and I really was fascinated and enjoyed it. I was right up my alley because I love hooking stuff up, and that's really what that is hooking stuff up to stuff and making it work. Pretty amazing.
And you mentioned you're one of the few guys that was with Prince really for a long time. And we've obviously heard stories about him being, eccentric or difficult to work with. But, you were with him for quite a while. Did you find it to be that way, or what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, getting a part right or being demanding and is an art form, to get perfection. And he's a perfectionist without question, and that pushes you and him to find out your limits. So, when you're traveling like that, and touring, and you're under that kind of pressure to put on that kind of show, but the thing about my experience was, I don't know about anybody else, but nobody worked harder than him. So, you were keeping up. You were trying to keep up because, to this day, you can still see that the energy level and the creativity is superhuman, and that's certainly when he was younger, it was superhuman, and it was amazing to see this go on and be a part of it. So you rose to the occasion. You felt like you had to, and that's why these shows are legendary, and the legacy is so loved because of the hard work we put in. I would have to think, I would hope.
Yeah, definitely. We wanted to ask you now. Before the Revolution disbanded, there was a rumor that there was an album that had already been completed or maybe was near completion and was shelved. Do you have any kind of rumors on that or any stories?
All I could say is there's so many tracks that were recorded all the time and still recording to this night. I'm sure tonight he's recording. So album or configuration or what, there's tons of material that the Revolution did that was released. There's tons that was released. It's just, as a producer, Prince was so prolific that sure, there's tons of unreleased, not tons, but a lot of unreleased Revolution tracks that could be an album. And, with Prince, there's always an album sketch going on. So, did it not come out or something 11th hour? No. It ended when it ended with Parade, and that was it.
Well, and then when the Revolution did disband, you went on to produce for a lot of other groups and, had your own solo album out too. Was that something you found that you preferred, doing your own thing versus working with someone else's stuff?
Well, I was very fortunate. I am very fortunate. I like the music business, and I tried a bunch of different things doing it, producing records, and even tried managing people. But being a drummer was my first love, and without that, I wouldn't have enjoyed anything else. So getting the real good, satisfaction of playing in a group like that, really is still the nuts and bolts of what I consider myself, which is a drummer. But, it leads to opportunities, and opportunities are fun to explore. You find out with opportunities, though, that some work and some don't, and the public is very fickle, and you can't make people buy records or love the project that you're working on like you do, but all you can do is give it your best and hope that people like the music you make.
Sure. And we heard that you had a bit of a health scare a couple of years back. We assume everything is going well now? Everything's good?
Yes, thank you. Just had a good checkup. Yeah, I had a pretty major heart attack. At the young age of 55, my arteries were clogged, the widowmaker and the two other main arteries. And I learned a pretty valuable lesson that I continue to try to spread to this day, that, family history is really key to this thing. Stress is key. But you got to have yourself checked out. And if you got any family history, a statin drug is like $6 a month, and it really reduces your cholesterol and can save your life. I'm not saying you need to go to have, major x-rays and spend tens of thousands of dollars on a treadmill heart scan. But go to your doctor, have a simple blood test, and you got some high cholesterol, there's medicine for that. At least it's something. And, it's just something that I really believe in now because I had some warning signs. Hindsight's 20/20, but at least I got to look back. Some people don't get that chance. So I feel very fortunate that I learned a lot about what's going on with my heart. And with my organization, mypurpleheart.org, we put on 2 shows with the American Heart Association. First year was with the Revolution, and last year was with Questlove and Maya Rudolph, and got to reunite with Andre Simone, Des Dickerson, Dr. Fink. Had a lot of fun, and we'll do it again this summer. But, it's definitely something to wake you up and appreciate life more than you did before. I'll just tell you that.
Yeah.
Thank you for asking.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're welcome. You mentioned the charity foundation you have. It's it's called My Purple Heart, right? And where can people go to get more information about it?
Well, right now, mypurpleheart.org is the website. It's probably kind of just informational right now, linking to the American Heart Association page. But as we get closer to June 28th, which is this year's show, I'm going to steer the party to the 30th anniversary of Purple Rain. And we're in the process of planning what that means, but it just is what it is. We're going to celebrate the movie and the album after 30 years and have some fun doing it with some music and guests, and that'll be at First Avenue again. So we also show a lot of education about the American Heart Association, but we keep it light and fun, and it's a good time. So if you're up in the Twin Cities, look for the information forthcoming in the next months ahead.
Beautiful. We will do that. Now, you also do your own radio show, right? Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, every Sunday night on K-Twin here in the Twin Cities, 96.3 or ktwin.com, KTWIN, just like the Minnesota Twins, because the Minnesota Twins are on K-Twin when they broadcast the season. 8 o'clock on Sunday night, I play the best in Minnesota music, and that, of course, means Prince and Dylan and Replacements and Who's Purdue and on and on and on, from the latest stuff to classics, and we tell little anecdotes and stories. The drummer from the Chili Peppers, Chad Smith, was born in Minnesota, so we'll play that once in a while. So we have great liberties with the term Minnesota and music, but we have a lot of fun 8 p.m. Sunday nights on K-Twin here in the Twin Cities.
Awesome.
Well, yeah, Bobby, you got the charity, you have the benefit show coming up, your own radio show. I mean, do you have any other projects, or do you find time to still play music?
Yeah, I mean, there's some stuff that I kind of executive producing at the moment. Some young ladies out of Chicago, Moonrise Nation, which we're really excited about that. And I still work with Alexander O'Neill on some projects, and always got something going on in the studio, something in the pipeline, and just trying to keep the drum chops nice and fresh if they're ever called upon. So, it's a great musical situation. I play with my kids. My 2 sons play guitar. My middle son plays bass, and my nephew sings. We perform as the Rivkins with a Z sometimes. So we're active musically and really enjoy that.
Awesome. That's probably the most important band you've been in, I assume, is with the kids. That's awesome.
Well, especially after the heart attack, it was when we played down at 7th Street Entry in Twin Cities. It definitely was kind of amazing that happened, that they could play and keep up and rock pretty good. But it absolutely is something special to play with them for sure.
Well, Bobby, it's really means a lot that you've been on with us today. Is there anything you want to leave us with, or any parting words?
Well, I just want to thank everybody. I know it's a little bit better. Back in the 80s, we just didn't have the communication skills and the Twitter, Facebook, access like we do now. And it's just great to kind of connect with the fans after, still appreciating all this great music over the years and the hard work we did. And I just want to thank you listeners down there. The same thing. Minnesota, we were very proud to take that purple flag with us out to the world when we did. We were very proud about being from Minnesota. So it was a big deal to come home, and it's a big deal to still live here. So thanks, Minnesota, for supporting Prince and the Revolution all those years, and I know Prince appreciates it too. and just keep grooving your favorite music. That's all you can do.
Amen.
All right, guys.
Thanks a lot,
All right.
Bobby.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
No problem.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.